and then just sort of kind of fell off over the past few weeks, I'd say.
So we have a Naya mid-range out of Kenny Mayer. It's essentially one of those green white good stuff decks that we were talking about. Among that good stuff is Huntmaster of the Fells, hence the Naya.
Sure, yeah, and then Bonfire the Dam seems like a good card. Yeah. Pretty good.
It's pretty similar to the Naya Humans decks we saw in the last season, actually. Those decks were very good against Delver.
So Nick Langella appears to be up a game, but not looking good for him here in Game 2. Down to 3 life, facing down just a huge army. We've got Kenny Mayer with Restoration Angel, Thrag Tusk, Wolf Token, Beast Token, and an Avacyn's Pilgrim, which appears to be getting blocked right now by a Spirit. So that means that token was, or that Avacyn's Pilgrim was coming in, and I imagine it looks like Nick is currently blocking with a Restoration Angel, holding a Runechanter's Pike, blocking the opposing Restoration Angel. So getting a little bit of first strike value out of that one.
Yeah, it looks like in this game that Nick got stuck on some lands, which is really, you know, the Flash deck doesn't. Flash or mid-range can't really afford to do.
Doing a little bit of counting here. I assume Nick has survived this turn somehow, but it's unclear exactly what's going on.
Fells for Kenny Mayer. I'll put even yet more threats on the board.
And Nick would like a sweeper here. Does he even play sweepers? He does have 3 Supreme Verdicts in the board. Main deck, no sweepers, but this is Game 2.
Oh, it's possible that Langella Azorius Charms to give life.
That's very likely what happened, yeah. You see the Azorius Charm on the top?
Before we came on the screen, that happened. So, Nick on top. So Nick actually, sorry, maybe a lands growing. I didn't actually see the 3 lands hiding out on top. It's possible that, but Nick will concede the second game.
So. Yeah, not much. I mean, without some sort of sweeper there, and again, his outs were just 3 copies of Supreme Verdict as far as sweepers go. I mean, Detention Sphere is a pseudo sweeper, but I think there were enough diverse threats on Kenny's side of the board that Nick wasn't getting out of that next turn alive. So,
so
he decided the same thing.
The best. So what Nick Langella, I feel like he's probably favored in this matchup. I at least would like to be on his side of the board right now. Looking at the matchup, what he's essentially going to, like, the Geist of St. Traps are going to be pretty bad here. He's kept them in. I'm not even sure if that's correct. They're not really going to connect. When your opponent's playing cards like 4 Borderland range, that's, you know, that makes Geist pretty mediocre.
Yeah, but pretty kind of embarrassing. And then, you know, even after turn 4, you've got Huntmaster producing 2 blockers for a Geist of St. Traps.
So it's like you only have 2 pikes, and your Geist is not really a card without them.
Yeah, so it's I agree. I don't like the Geists. It's nice when you can capitalize on an opponent who stumbles, but you can't just assume your opponent's going to stumble. You can't play for that game. You just kind of, if it happens, that's nice, but...
So we look at boarding options then. What we do have for Nick, he has 3 Izzet Staticasters. They deal with Pilgrims. That would be a little bit of a hedge bet if he sides them in. They would only truly be good if he paired them up. If they did manage to get 2, they'd be excellent, though.
Yeah. Taking out Huntmasters, Wolves, Pilgrims, of course, Borderland Rangers.
And then if he ever got all 3 out, it would be
Centaur Healers, Thrag Tusk,
that'd be the rest
everything,
of the deck.
Yeah. If he somehow is able to play and resolve and keep all 3, well, he's going to resolve.
Actually, the reason I might like to do it is because compared to Geist, I almost want an 0-3 blocker.
Yeah, that's actually not that bad of an idea. I mean, it jumps in front of, or it sits in front of the Huntmasters, the Wolves, the Borderland Rangers. You know, so those.
If I'm Nick, I may have boarded those in. That's I guess a deeper board than most would probably do here. You know, boarding the Staticasters against the deck without many X1s is not always. I mean, that's not deeper. It's a riskier side.
But again, I still think it's an upgrade to Geist.
I agree. So that's why I think I'd be doing it.
I think he wants those Supreme Verdicts, I assume.
Yes.
I assume he brought them in already, just didn't see them.
The card's good here. Kenny's deck's pretty resilient to it. Among the things he's ramping into are Angel of Serenity and Garruk Primal Hunter, both of which, you know, get around the card very well.
Sure.
Obviously, you'd still board it in, but Kenny is pretty resilient. You have to imagine that, like, Nick at some point is going to have to become the aggro deck because he's not going to be able to run Kenny out of resources.
Yeah, and any deck playing, you know, creature-based strategy, which is a lot of decks right now, are going to need to build with Supreme Verdict in mind anyway. It is one of the most played cards in the format. So the fact that Kenny can kind of rebuild quickly is no surprise. Either rebuild quickly or just ignore.
Right.
Looks like Nick is going to 6 here.
Yeah.
If you're just joining us, I'm Joey Pasco in the booth with Matthias Hunt, and we're coming to you guys live from Baltimore, Maryland, where we are currently in round 2, game 3 of round 2 of the StarCityGames.com Open Series. And Nick Langella taking a mulligan to 6 against Kenny Mayer. We saw Nick apparently took game 1. We didn't see that. Kenny, with just kind of overwhelming board presence, took down game 2. And Nick's going to try to prevent that.
Now.
Oh, wow. I thought he was on 6. So on 5, we saw a pillar, some lands. I think he's keeping. Yeah,
it's keepable, but I mean, he's certainly at a disadvantage. He's got a hand with Geist. He's got a Geist hand here.
So he did keep the Geist.
Yep.
We have a Glacial Fortress from Nick and a Sun Petal Grove for Kenny. Moorland Haunt for Nick.
It appears that Kenny has sided in his Sigardas. I saw one of those in his hand. Fantastic Wolf Run and Farseek from Kenny Mayer. Nick's last land is a Cavern of Souls, and you have to choose pretty carefully how he wants to spend it. He does have the Geist of St. Traps he could make on turn 3. That's a pretty risky investment, though, that it's really unlikely that the guy's going to hit for very much.
Yeah, interesting you mentioned Sigarda, and I'm looking at Nick's deck list, and his only real answer to a resolved Sigarda is the 3 copies of Supreme Verdict that we mentioned. So I like that. I like that choice from Kenny.
Okay, yep. Geist cast off Cavern. Set on either Spirit or Cleric. Doesn't really matter.
Yeah, he had to have named something for Geist because otherwise it was uncastable. Would not have had the second color requirement.
Players and Commander Pod number 2 to the main event stage. Players and Commander Pod number 2 to the main event stage, please.
And there you see the Borderland Ranger, and you know the reason that you mentioned Geist not being so great. Kenny has a blocker, so.
And it's like the worst kind of creature. You don't see the last guy you want to trade your Geist with.
Yeah. It's essentially like a awkward sorcery speed char. Like, he can swing in here and get in for 4, but that's the best he can hope for at this point. Now, we know he has Pillar, but he doesn't have access to red, as far as we know. Avacyn's Pilgrim comes down for Kenny Mayer.
So what Nick Snap's trying to figure out is what he can do now.
Yeah, he can't cast a single card in his hand, except, does he have Snapcaster? Is that what it is?
Yeah, he has Snapcaster, Pillar.
Yeah, he can't cast Pillar, can't cast Searing Spear, and can't cast Azorius Charm because he's got 2 lands that produce colorless mana unless they're casting a Geist of St. Trap.
Yeah. Cavern's gonna come down. That's probably set to Angel, and I think we're gonna see Sigarda, which is, as you said, is not very answerable here. Yep. I like the token.
Yeah, just to clarify what the Cavern named. And there's Sigarda. So Nick is in even more trouble now. Again, he can't really do too much here.
There's
Borderland
not
Ranger
really
attack.
much coming back from this. Hallowed Fountain is made a play from Langella, but he actually I don't know if his deck can race Sigarda, and he can't. And it certainly can't answer for where it is from where it is right now.
He needs now another blue or white producing land and a Supreme Verdict to deal with that Sigarda. So he puts the Hallowed Fountain into play tapped. Kenny's going to be able to get in for at least 7 here. Unless the Snapcaster jumps in front, just a value Snapcaster.
Yeah, well, what you have to, what is it, with Kessig Wolfrun, actually, he can, by tapping out, unpumping Sigarda, he can put Langella on a 2-turn clock, which is, I think, the correct play. A full tap out of all his guys pumps it for 4, which is 9.
Yeah.
So I think it's swing pump, swing pump.
Yeah. And that looks like what Kenny's going with.
Yep.
No blocks. All right, I'm going to activate Kessig Wolfrun for
yep. There's 9
there,
and then 9 more next turn.
Yeah. So Nick, really, he can't get out of this. He needs
right.
2. He needs, not only does he need the Verdict to deal with Sigarda, but he needs a land that can make him be able to cast the Verdict. He draws a red spell, which is a dead card. He has no red mana sources. He has an Azorius Charm.
This is the beauty of Sigarda, where you're just like, oh, well, I'll just Wolf run it, okay, and there's not really, you're not really worried about your opponent doing anything. It has hexproof.
Yeah, I really feel like I don't like hexproof. If it was Shroud, okay, then you at least avoid the crazy Wolf run and pretty much these kind of shenanigans.
This is unanswerable.
Right, but like, wow. So Nick says, I'm just going to attack with everybody. Geist puts an Angel into play. We have an Azorius Charm on the blocking Borderland Ranger, I assume.
Mm-hmm. And Kenny will just take, and he has the win on the board.
Yeah, this is really,
he knows it.
It's like a last-ditch effort that, even if successful, doesn't win him the game at all. So, or did he draw from Azorius? Or was it Lifelink? Maybe Lifelink. That was what it was. Okay. I forget about that lifelink ability sometimes.
It's good. Like, it's the only way for Nick to stay alive. But I mean, it only buys him a turn. I think Kenny just runs the same thing again. Attack and Wolf.
Go. I was gonna say Nick should still be on a 2-turn clock here.
Yep. He bought himself a turn.
Lost his Geist of St. Traff to a Borderland Ranger. Left with just a Snapcaster Mage, and
Kenny does not need any of the other cards in his hand.
Kenny passes a turn after getting in, knocking Nick down to 8 for the 2nd consecutive turn. And we see, what, a Cavern of Souls?
Another Cavern, yeah.
Nick with 3 red spells and a Cavern in hand. This is awful, yeah.
Kenny Mayer wins 2-1 over Nick Langella.
So, yeah, that was a nice effort between Kenny